when the economy is down in the dumps, contracting 24%. But it's quite difficult to manage a large and justify a borrowing program in a normalizing economy. That was the Reserve Bank's challenge, and I think they came up to it. They guided for a growth which I think, as per most economists, was a little modest. At 10.5%, most economists in the street are between 11 and 13%. When it came to inflation, yes, they were dovish. But if you looked at the fine numbers, they're actually upgraded it to 5 to 5.2 for the first half of next year. The previous number used to be 4.6 to 5.2. So, they've just tried to balance. Of course, their tone was unabashedly accommodative because it's still a healing economy. And of course, when I tried to push them to ask, how long will you be accommodative? They didn't give me a reply, but they did say that they're going to remain accommodative. A lot was done in terms of reassurance on government borrowing. They said that even if you buy, you don't have to mark to market anything you buy all through this year, that is bonds, up until the end of next year, up until March 2023, you don't have to mark to market. So don't worry, go ahead and buy. The cash reserve ratio is being restored, which means some liquidity space is created, which RBI can use to buy bonds. So that again is a positive for the bond markets, to encourage them to go ahead and buy when the government comes to borrow. Retail guys, you and I, can go in and buy bonds. The arrangements will be made. Again, trying to reassure the market that I'm creating more buyers. But the market was agonizing. Bond yields went up. Why? They wanted a clear assurance from the RBI, probably, that you are having a timetable to come in and buy bonds. But I think there was a larger purpose. The larger reason why the market was perhaps agonizing is that ultimately, can you keep on having a reverse repo rate, an interbank rate of 3.35% when you yourself are telling me that inflation is going to be between 4.5 and 5 and growth is going to normalize? If that is the reason, then at some point in time, bond yields will have to make their peace. And that's what perhaps the bond markets were agonizing over, that the shorter term yields will have to move up. Well, but let me ask the experts joining me now to speak about the bond markets and the economist's expert opinion on the RBI's assessment are B. Prasanna, the head of treasury at ICICI Bank. I'll also be joined by Soumya Kanti, who is the chief economic advisor at State Bank of India, Pranjul Bhandari, the economist from HSBC India, and Rajiv Anand, the head of commercial bank lending at Axis Bank. Well, Prasanna, I'm going to start with you because your market sulked. Why? What did you all want? I thought he gave you all everything you all want, barring an OMO timetable. Why were you all sulking?
So I think, Lata, RBI said all the right things. So a lot of what we all expected in terms of the kind of accommodation that RBI had to do to support the borrowing program, we found some soothing words from the governor and in the policy. However, this time around, I think I would say that actions by the RBI will have to speak louder than its words. So whilst it is comforting to hear that, yes, RBI will be there, there is always, some kind of a difference between the intent of when RBI will do a particular action and what really happens in the market by the time they actually come out with those actions. So I think the market, some sections of the market, we are probably expecting for an OMO announcement today itself, or maybe an OMO calendar kind of a thing. But the broader perspective that this time around, more than the communication, of course, communication is very important, but more than communication, they will have to follow it up with a whole lot of tools that are available with them. I mean, that include things like, open market purchases, Operation Twist, which they have been doing very efficiently over the last year. In addition to that, we suspect that they will also have to do things like, devolvement sometimes onto PD, maybe cancellation of GSEC auctions to ensure that yields don't really go up. You will stand and agree that the amount of gross dated borrowings is far in excess, even though it's lower than FY21 in FY22, but it is far in excess of a normal year. And you all will agree that sometime during this year, RBI will start its normalization process. So hence, the combination is not really, something that is giving comfort. So the market participants wanted to see what kind of actions RBI will possibly do to prevent yields from going up.
Okay. Yeah, I take your point, and I was trying to explain that in my initial setup, that almost everyone who watches the economy will have to accept that you can't have an overnight interbank rate of 3.35%. When the economy is normalizing, growth will go, probably towards an average of 6% by the time we come to the second half. So this 3.35 is unjustifiable if inflation is going to be 5%. So what exactly will you want from the RBI? They have to bring up the short-term rates, at the same time keep the long end, at whatever, 10 years should be 6/4 or 6/2, can't go beyond that. But the near term will have to go up from 3.35 to probably plus 4% by the end of the year. How should they do it?
So is that Lata?
Yes, to you, Prasanna.
Yeah, so I did mention about the kind of tools that they will probably have to do, which now was, open market purchases as well as operation.
One minute. Let me add to the question. 1 minute. Look at the way the 5-year has behaved, which is totally unacceptable. 5-year on 1st Jan was at 5.1%, and it went up 50 basis, 5.6. It seemed to be an outsized reaction, isn't it? And that is where corporates borrow.
So there are two things, Lata. One is, see, in this new normal, when the government is going to be borrowing 12 lakh crores, and in a year when RBI is going to be normalizing liquidity operations gradually, so be it, we need to figure out what are the levels in which RBI is going to be comfortable with yields, and what levels at which they will be okay issuing bonds, what are the levels they will not be comfortable issuing bonds. So I think that's the reason I said that this year is going to be not about monetary policy. It is all going to be about the way RBI manages the market. And hence, for that, to understand what level is good, what level is not good, we need to really figure out where RBI comes in.
Okay.
So that's why I was saying that devolvement and cancellation of government bond auctions is also part of the tool that RBI will have to use.
Fair.
It's going to be very, very tough. I mean, example is today's auction itself. Normally, the result comes at 2:30. It is still not come in even after 3 hours. So probably the deliberation of what is the right level to give, that point keeps going on.
Fair.
And to answer your particular question on the 5-year, yes, there has been an oversized reaction on the 5-year part, primarily because of the fact that 5-year segment is something that the government probably does not have a choice to cancel, because these are the borrowings which you are doing in order to on-lend onto the governments. And so probably that is one reason. And the second reason is a lot of focus on controlling yields by the Reserve Bank is also on the 10-year point. They end up always buying the 10-year segment, whether it is on screen or also doing open market operations and so on and so forth. It is on the 10-year point. So it's quite possible that everywhere else you see some kind of an upward pressure on yields, whereas the 10-year does not really go up as much. So I suspect that they might have been buying on screen today also on the 10-year. So what you're seeing on the 10-year at 609, 610 is possibly not the level determined by market.
Oh, absolutely. Because when the 15-year is going at 6.6, there is no reason why the 10-year should fall from 6.15 to 6.1. At some point in time, its normal market rate will be different. But now let me come to the economists. Soumyakanti Ghosh, this is a twofold question to you. The biggest bank in the country is saying that its load of bad loans is over. Do you think that we are going to be surprised by the growth number this year? It's not going to be 10.5, it's not going to be 11, it's going to be a lot stronger because the financial sector is more liberated to lend.
Yeah, thank you, Lata. I think that's a very fair question, and that is actually one of the debates which has been going on in the government and also the RBI. In fact, if I look into the budget numbers, where we have a tax buoyancy which is lower than this fiscal year. So basically, that's something which the markets, I think, also have noticed. And in all probability, the projections which the RBI has also laid out today, and also in the government, the nominal growth of 14.4%, I think that's an underestimate, possibly an underestimate. And if that is the case, then the government could actually spend even higher to bring the growth back on trajectory. So there is an element of surprise. So basically, the markets perhaps will be able, will be able to understand it better at a later point of time, because all this while what has been happening is that we have been maybe saying more on policies, saying more on actions and less on policies, but now we have done exactly the opposite. Maybe we have said less on the statements and more on action. So if I
clearly
look in
understated
that context,
yes.
yes. If I look,
I want to ask both you economists exactly this. The financial sector has its impact on the real economy. It was, weighed down by lack of capital and excessive provisioning. Now that is reversed. They're reasonably well capitalized, and today if SBI or even for that matter any of the other banks go for capital, they will get it at attractive rates. Pranjul, is this adequately being factored in, or are we going to see a round of GDP upgrades because the financial sector is far healthier than anyone else estimated? Pranjul, you're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, please go ahead.
There are so many moving parts, Lata, that it's very hard to say that, what's really going to happen to GDP estimates. Right now, everything is looking very hunky-dory, but we have to also understand that one of the biggest drivers of growth is pent-up demand for goods and pent-up demand for services. And once that high is gone, then, we may have a growth problem for some time. So I'm not 100% convinced that, there will be a huge second round of growth upgrades. It's just very hard to say that right now. One other thing, even in previous slowdowns, we've seen that NPLs at banks don't rise in the year of the slowdown or even the year after the slowdown. It always happens about 2 years down the line, because in the years of the slowdown, there are a lot of emergency steps that can be taken, like, for example, regulatory easing, or for instance, corporates not paying some vendors. But you can't take emergency steps every single year. So a lot of the stress actually shows up a bit later.
Okay.
So I'm going to be a little guarded here.
Okay.
It's not very easy for me to talk about upgrades from this level.
All right. Okay. Maybe I'm too much of a stock market reporter and anchor. So maybe I'm getting carried away. But I really want to ask Rajiv this. Rajiv, Prasanna, maybe not Pranjul. She looks too young for it. We've all seen the previous round of 2003, 2005, and banks, Rakesh Mohan calling bankers lazy banking and all that. Do you think now bankers are going to pick up the gauntlet and lend more with the background of this budget and the policy? What is your sense on credit offtake?
Lata, I think ultimately it is a function of how much the economy grows and how much of demand there is. The point that you made just now, banks have ample liquidity, banks have adequate capital, but we are not finding enough bankable projects or that we have a long pipeline of projects where entrepreneurs are looking for capital. Yes, I think it's just a question of time before the retail side begins to grow, but it's not as if the pipeline of private capex is strong at this point in time. We're all hoping that on the back of this budget that we saw yesterday, last week, that pipeline will begin to build as we come into the first half of the year.
That's a fair point. We don't have this huge number of power projects and road projects, but maybe roads the government is clearing at some alacrity. Let me just finish off the two small questions to you, Rajiv, because I guess you're best placed. Do you think this TLTRO, targeted long-term repo that the RBI has announced targeted to NBFCs, will take off?
I think the issue is, once again, I don't think the 3.35% is going to move anytime soon. I think fundamentally, we've had a conversation just now with Prasanna as well. I think it's really the mid to long end of the curve which is nervous at this point in time. But I think it's fair to say that the RBI will continue to keep at least over the next 6, maybe 9 months, the 3.35, and therefore liquidity on the margin is going to get tighter, but it's going to remain reasonably easy.
So why would you take the LTRO?
In that sort of a situation,
so you're saying why would you all borrow? Achha.
Exactly, and I think the credit to the NBFC sector has significantly improved from, let's say, 1st April onwards today.
Yes. Okay. So even if this is not taken up, one shouldn't worry too much. Will this MSME thing help? You get a CRR benefit if you lend to an MSME. Is that helpful?
Just a nuance there. Okay. To an MSME up to 25 lakhs who's borrowing from the banking system for the first time. To be fair, the size of that opportunity is huge. Okay. Only 14% of the 7 crore MSMEs borrow from the banking sector. So in that sense, the size of the opportunity is very large.
Okay.
So yes, it's a good opportunity, but I think it will take time to build.
Maybe we should have people like Bandhan or one of the microfinance guys answering this. or guys who have a lot of microfinance. Okay, I have to take a quick break. I have lots more questions for you, both based on the budget and the monetary policy. Back in a jiffy. With a budget that has been extremely well received and a monetary policy to finish it off, I've been speaking with stalwart bankers and economists, Soumya Kanti Ghosh, Pranjul Bhandari, B. Prasanna and Rajiv Anand about what this means to the economy and the banking system and the bond markets, most importantly. So let me once again start with you, Prasanna. What is your best estimate of the 10-year, for want of a better indication? What will be the range up until, say, September 30th, first half?
So, Lata, I'm tempted to say something before I answer that question.
Sure.
So, if you remember, we were talking about auction cancellations and devolvements
Yes.
and open market operations. So, in the auction which was conducted today, there were 4 bonds and the result has just come out. Out of the 4 bonds, 2 bonds were cancelled and 2 bonds were devolved onto PDs.
Okay.
So, this is, and almost entirely, just 190 crore of 18,000 crores has actually been given to market level bids. So this is the clear indication of the kind of, I would say, problems
Tactics.
that is going to be, the tactics that will be adopted by RBI, the kind of problems that market will have to face. So in this kind of a thing, to give a yield range is going to be very, very difficult because this is almost like a zombie market, right?
Okay,
Because the market is being
do you
determined by RBI.
do you see the yield going below 6 at all, or is 6.1 the new 6? And how far can it go? Can it go up to 6.5, or do you think that's too much?
So I think, Lata, a lot of it is about reading into what the RBI wants, like I said. And I can only, as we go along, I can feel for that. But right now, I do feel that if RBI was trying to maintain 10-year yield in the 5.75 to 6 range, maybe around 2 months ago, that range is possibly shifted to maybe 6 to 6.25 or 6.35 kind of levels for this quarter. And as we go into the next year, of course, subject to a lot of other things, we really don't know how a lot of moving parts are going to behave. The range might shift even to 6.25 to 6.45 or 6.50 kind of levels.
Yeah.
This is all subject to what the governor thinks, what the RBI
Absolutely.
thinks. And how
I take your point. I think Michael Patra put it well. They will feel the cross the river by feeling the pebbles, right?
So actually, I was about to say, just like how they are going to cross it by feeling the pebbles, the market participants will have to cross by feeling the pebbles.
Okay, fair point. Rajiv Anand, your best guess. Do you see this is not changing the repo rate? So you think the cost of money for corporates changes at all?
It will, certainly. I think the point that you made about 5-year bonds now trading 50 basis points higher is symptomatic of that. And then it's just a question of time. I mean, so far, what has not happened is spreads increasing. So it's just a question of time before spreads begin to increase as well. A 12 lakh crore borrowing program will need all the nimbleness and the innovativeness of RBI to be able to manage that. But I think there is going to be some collateral damage in terms of the fact that cost to corporates is going to go up.
Okay, fair point. Soumya, Pranjul, have to come to the inflation angle. Soumya, is inflation going to be a bother at all? My own sense is that there is still a lot of slack in the economy. So the Reserve Bank can rest assured on inflation, you think?
Lata, before I answer that question, I'll just 30 seconds
to
share an optimism which you just said. I think the important thing to understand that why the financial sector could look liberated today is that just look into the provisioning number of the banks. Most of the provisioning number of the banks are in the age of 85 to 90%. So we are actually in a situation where the banks are more capitalized and more adequately provisioned. So I think the sector is going to perform much better than the earlier expectations.
Fair point.
Now, having said that, in terms of the inflation, as we have maintained, I think inflation is bound to go up irrespective of what is the RBI stance on the liquidity management, because once the service sector economic activity picks up, there are some components which have been not contributing to inflation. For example, education is one of them. So you will look into an uptick in the inflation trajectory. But as we have all seen that right now, what matters is the inflation trajectory throughout the cycle and not at the point of cycle. So even if the, say, inflation numbers goes up a little bit, there could be some ugly numbers maybe in the next 1 or 2 months in the summer. I think the RBI and the market should not be overtly concerned, because at the end of the day, its explicit forward guidance has maintained that there is not going to be any rate change, possibly throughout the entire fiscal year, next fiscal year.
Okay. Pranjul, would you be as confident in terms of rates? See, as you put out in your note as well, the government is going to spend a lot of money in these 3 months, Jan, Feb, March, going by their own RE, which is so much higher than the amount of money spent last year, same time, Jan, Feb, March. Is there any inflationary pressure over there, or is there enough slack to take all that spending?
Well, I don't think inflation is going to come from the government spending because, a lot of it is to
Paying old
FCI,
bills.
old bills. A lot of, there might also be some upside tax surprise. So fiscal deficit may turn out to be a bit lower than budget. And then the remaining extra 0.5% of GDP, I don't think that will create inflationary pressures when the output gap is negative.
Sure.
I also think that the vegetable prices falling is a very positive thing. And we're definitely under the 6% ceiling.
Okay.
The question is that are we at 4%? And I don't think we are there. I think we'll probably average around 5% because of all the cost push, services inflation that could be in the system.
Okay.
So the good news is we are under 6. The bad news is that we are above 4% inflation. Just one quick point to add, Alata. I don't think this inflation is going to come in the way of the RBI trying to help markets digest high borrowing, because a lot of the liquidity may not be liquidity enhancing, but liquidity switching. For instance, instead of buying as many dollars it did last year, buying more bonds, then of course steps like, the CRR going back 1% up also create for OMOs. So there's a lot of liquidity switching that can happen, which doesn't happen inflationary.
Okay, right. Got that. So inflation is not a headache at all, so why discuss it? A final word from you, Rajiv. This retail guys coming in and buying gilts, is it all optics? Will it take off at all?
I think if you look at gilt funds, and gilt funds have been around for almost 20 years, at least since I started.
Yes.
The total AUM under gilt funds is approximately 17,000 crores after 20 years.
Okay.
And so therefore, even the mutual fund industry, which has done such a wonderful job selling bond funds and equity funds and hybrid funds, etc., has not been able to sell gilt funds over a 20-25 year period. And remember that, and even today, I still recommend that for somebody who's got 5 lakhs of money, rather than buy gilts, should be putting money into gilt funds if he wants to do that, because there is no liquidity if you want to get out of that, 5 lakhs of rupees in the secondary market, but you will get out at NAV in a gilt fund, for example.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's a good option. I think banks like us, IDBI, we do have it on our screens, but the demand is not much at this point in time.
Okay, you absolutely
I think customers still prefer either fixed deposits or the more savvy customers use the mutual fund route in terms of liquid fund, short-term funds.
Absolutely, you've clinched the argument.
Too much of direct equity.
Take your point entirely, and as an individual investor, I would rather buy an NHAI bond or a NABARD or even an SBI fixed deposit, which will give me more than a gilt, I would assume. And for a tax benefit, the mutual fund route is always better. But let's see the fine print of that. The expert verdict appears to be that for the bond market, the RBI has to do a lot of managing, cancelling auctions, as Prasanna said, and feeling your way. It's not going to be very easy to manage such a large borrowing program. A lot of talking the market up will have to be done. But on the economy, both the economists believe that growth could surprise a little bit on the upside. They're not very confident, maybe I am, but they're quite clear that inflation is not going to be a threat at all. We wrap up on this special broadcast on the monetary policy. Thank you very much for watching.